if you're thinking about moving to Long Island, there's one question that people don't always ask out loud, but they're definitely thinking about it. Where are the safer areas and where should I be more cautious? So this is just going based off of statistics, right? And I get it. When you're making a move, especially if you're relocating from out of state, safety is something that you want to understand, and that's going to be something we're going to discuss. But here's the important thing I want to say right up front. Long Island overall is actually considered a very safe place to live, especially compared to major cities. So this is not a conversation about dangerous versus safe. It's more about understanding where crime tends to be a little bit higher relative to other areas and what that actually means in real life. So this is all stuff that you can verify for yourself on Google. Just look up crime statistics in Long Island. So let's start with something most people don't realize. Crime on Long Island is very localized. You don't see entire towns that are quote unquote bad, right? What you usually see is certain pockets within larger towns that have higher crime activity compared to surrounding areas. And that's a big difference from how people think about crime in larger cities. Now, when we look at Long Island, specifically Nassau and Suffolk County, there are a few areas that tend to come up more often in crime discussions. So for examples, areas like Hempstead, Freeport, and parts of Long Beach and Nassau County are often mentioned when you look at higher reported incidents, especially due to higher population density. And this is all stuff that you can verify for yourself online by looking at the crime stats, right? In Suffolk County, places like Riverhead come up in data discussions, particularly around crime in certain sections. But here's what's important. There are not blanket statements about entire towns based on specific neighborhoods, density and activity levels. Another thing to understand is the type of crime. So on Long Island, most of what you're seeing statistically, right, is going to be property related crimes. So it's going to be things like thefts, car break-ins, similar issues, those types of things. Violent crime rates are relatively low overall compared to national averages. And again, this is all stuff that I'd encourage you to do your own due diligence on and search online for yourself. Look at the crime rates. So when people hear higher crime, it's often not what they think. And here's something really important. Population plays a huge role. Areas that are more populated or that have more commercial activity, more stores, more traffic, more people, these places are naturally going to have higher reported incidents, right? So, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're unsafe. It just means that there's more activity or, more people, more things, right? That's how the city is, right? There's so many people there, so the crime rate's a little higher because there's just more people. So now let's talk about what actually matters if you're moving here. So instead of focusing on lists of worst towns, the better approach is understanding how to evaluate areas properly. And that's what I want to encourage you to do on your own search as you're looking at towns that you're interested in online. So some things that you want to look at is you want to look at local police data, you want to look at recent trends, not just old numbers, neighborhood level information, and actually spending time in the area, because two streets within the same zip code can feel completely different. Another thing I always tell people is going to be this: pay attention to how an area feels during different times of the day. Drive through in the evening, walk around during the day, and look at how well the properties are maintained, right? Those real world types of observations often will tell you much more than a statistic would online. So now here's the bigger picture. Crime trends across Long Island have actually been stable or improving in many areas, with law enforcement actively working to keep these communities safe, right? You're going to see a lot of the police around. They take their job very seriously, and the department does a great job. So the narrative that people sometimes hear online doesn't always match reality. At the end of the day, Long Island is not a place where you're choosing between safe and unsafe. You're choosing between safe and safer, right? For the most part. different lifestyles, different price points, different levels of activity, and understanding how those factors influence what you experience day to day. So are you planning on moving here to Long Island? The best thing you can do is not rely on a list. Instead, focus on finding the right neighborhood within the right town based on your lifestyle, your budget, and what you're comfortable with, right? So if you're thinking about making that move to Long Island and you want help, feel free to reach out to me. All of my information is down below. I'm a realtor that is a New York native. I have been living here my entire life, and I'd be happy to help you to buy the home of your dreams and figure out what makes the most sense for you. All my contact information is down below. Feel free to call me, text me, email me, or there should be a link down there to schedule a Zoom call with me. All of my information is down below in the description. I'd be more than happy to help you out. And thank you for checking out this video. Look forward to seeing you all in the next one. I hope that you have a fantastic